All right, here we go again. So it's kind of weird because yesterday I called Google and I said, my Pixel XL is having trouble with this one app, right? And it works outside the browser, but it doesn't work in the browser, right? External microphone, I should say. Right? So they said, it's the microphone manufacturer, and when I further investigated, it wasn't. So you go to the microphone manufacturer, find out what's going on. Well, the microphone manufacturer, it's not because it works on the sound recorder. It's something with the browser, right? So I went to the people that made the app, and they said, well, if you can't use it online on other apps, then it's not us. It's right. So I did get to the point where I could use it on other online apps, web apps, they call them. So then he was going to take it to the developers, but all of a sudden, I tried to use a certain browser that they say is almost foolproof for external microphones, and it worked. What was happening at the end was when I would walk off to use it, I could get it to work. It would disconnect from the internet, which made me think somebody was hacking me possibly. But I did the VPN again, and this time the VPN worked. So well, that's why I was buying one of the reasons I was buying an iPhone. I was like, I was going to buy. When I had the iPhone, I was looking for iPhone devices where I could broadcast, and I was even looking up iRig, but I don't think I found the iRig Pre. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I don't know, but I couldn't get to it. Right. There's no guarantee, I guess, whether that's going to work or not on that web app. Right. Theoretically, it would, but God, it's a weird day. Yep. All this like humid, overcast weather. Ugh. No, I have to. I probably have to buy another airbed. I just find one that works better. Right. Well, I was wrong about Amazon. I mean, not all of them, but so there's some Chinese manufacturers of airbeds, right, and sellers, and and the such, and they actually have warranties. There's no extended warranty, but they actually have warranties, and they don't require you to do crazy stuff to fulfill the warranty. So, oh yeah, they killed me. They knew I could have been a web presence, so they, like a podcaster or whatever influencer, right? So they killed me like 10 years, a little over 10 years ago, right? And they haven't stopped since. But I'm not like doing anything dangerous. I'd have focused on just normal stuff had they not tried to kill me so long, right? And they know it. So if they told you they had to do that to stop me from saying something, they're lying because that's what causes me to say something. Again, it's psychology, it's psyop, right? Yeah, I didn't get my. I wanted to see. That's weird. I wanted to take a little piece of a muscle relaxer yesterday. I couldn't get to it. So again, they're on the wiretap, and I was telling my brother about that, and they willed it away. Right. I mean, I didn't sleep too bad, but see, they've done it for years. They're sickos. They're devils. I woke up at like 4 in the morning, and I'm like, ah, right. I'm probably going to take like a third. I just can't take a lot of it. It makes me too drowsy. Right. but it still works to relax. I mean, day by day for 30 years, man, they're sickos. They're stalking people all over the country, deciding who makes money, who lives, who dies, who becomes poor, who gets sick. They're sickos. They're bound for hell, man. So again, this helps you understand the difference between today and the day when Jesus was here. They didn't have the internet. They didn't have drones. They didn't have aviation assets. They didn't have, patrol vehicles patrolling the vehicle or patrolling the community, right? And then some, of course, are PIs and stuff. So, right, it's a paramilitary of criminals. That's why drugs are here. I guarantee Trump won't make a difference in the narcotics distribution in this nation, and it may actually go up. Well, if people take money, then drug distribution will go up. If people are on the take, if cops are on the take, then drug distribution will go up. Right. Thank you, Larry. I think some of the people they bust are just, they're just decoys. Like they don't know it. They're getting paid to distribute narcotics or transport narcotics. Right. But I think the real loads, we never get to the real loads. Every once in a while, I see a pretty big load, and I think, okay, that's probably a real load, right? Like I said, when I was in New Mexico, I decided to go and get my furniture that had been in storage for like 4 or 5 years in Indianapolis, and that's kind of like what screwed me out because I should have just did it again, just left it in storage, and I probably would have got to it faster this time, right? When I should have just left Texas, left everything in storage, and just got out of there, right? Right before COVID, I was planning to do it, going up to Fargo. And see, they whammied something. So again, it's kind of weird that nothing I do works. It's something like that is, so it like reverses. Once I select to do something, the course reverses, right? So if I had done that, something else would have probably. Right. And then meddling in my VA compensation probably messed me up a little bit too. Right. The online hearing aids, like the real cheap ones on Amazon and stuff, they're so close but so far, except a couple of companies. Like my one company I bought, I can't get it to control with anything but my tablet. It won't connect in. So it's probably an older type of operating system. So something in the new operating system will allow it. I don't know if it works with iPhone or not. They say it usually works better. I just don't think I can afford an iPhone right now. I mean, if I went through Boost, it would have worked. I mean, if I had money, I'd go through Verizon because there's all sorts of goodies you can get around it. I mean, they're even giving like a tablet real cheap, right? Like if you bought it through, like Spectrum's real cheap. If you bought it through Spectrum, you still have to make higher payments on the device. So what happens is Verizon will give you the phone and give you devices at times, but you have to pay a little bit more for the connection. That's money, a lot of it. If I had more money, I'd have been okay. And again, they paid a lot of people to be corrupt. A lot of people go to hell, man, for what they've done to me. It's just fact of life. Again, I've forgiven them, but Bible's clear. Again, and I'm a disabled person. I've been disabled for how many years? 20. Actually, I was disabled in the Marshal Service for something that was related to Desert Storm. One of the problems is they keep getting in the middle of everything. If I talk to my brother on the phone about something, they'll will it away, and it's very difficult to get to it. This is what they're doing with the surveillance systems in this country. They're devils. They're devils on surveillance systems. That's what makes it dangerous. But when I was in Desert Storm, I got dysentery and went in the hospital. There's no records of it. Right. I'm sorry. No, he said I had to be there. And he said, because what they did is, it was very strange. I mean, God saved my life a couple times there, because the lieutenant came back down to, what happens is, they tell us to go make a stand down point. So we're in the rear, but we're not like when they say Saudi Arabia, they think we're like at Khobar Towers or something. We're in the middle of the desert. We have nothing. We have no support. We didn't even have bottled water. We ended up drinking, supposedly potable water, but it wasn't. Right. And we all got sick. Thank you, Larry. I probably drank more water than they did because I was good at that. Right. But it was bad water. So, oh my God, Larry. The lieutenant was smart, and he said, "Look, you're sick. I can't leave you here in this tent by yourself." Because they came down. Oh, grab Moore's two assistants and bring them up here. Get Nova. I mean, I wish I never went on that mission. I really do. Right. They trusted me. They had me create the company stand down point with two commo guys, I guess it was, or a commo guy and someone else. I forget who it was. Right. He's a commo guy and a driver. So I paced that off. I marked it, lanes and all that stuff. And so we got sick. So he's like, "I can't leave you in there." So he takes me over. I said this before, and I'll say it again. He took me over to the aid station, which was somewhere in the desert, so far away. And so we get over there. They got these brand new ambulances, brand spanking new, gorgeous ambulances. Haven't probably been driven since they were there, or ever. Humvee ambulances, Hummer ambulances. So we talked to this Vietnam veteran, guest physician's assistant, and he's like, taking him to the hospital. I'm like thinking, you were in a dump truck or something, or a cargo truck. I can't remember, like a big one. I'm like, "Well, why don't you put him in the Humvee and drive him?" They know where it is. They go, "Oh, yeah," and he's telling us where it is. I'm thinking, this is weird. Right, so he tells us where to go. We start driving. We eventually did get there. But when I got into the hospital, they said, "Yeah, it's very important that they bring you here. You were going out." Right. I don't went out and it expired if I was alone. Right. I was not dehydrated and all that. I was just horrible. So we're driving to the hospital, and they stopped to ask this woman, officer, I guess, for direct, if they were on the right way, going the right way, and check the directions. And I had to get outside the vehicle. There's nothing. I couldn't even stop. Squatted down by the wheel, and I was that sick. Right. Oh my God. Been sick for probably a couple of weeks at that point. So so I go to the hospital, and it was just a horrible experience. Just when I was going to eat a solid meal. I mean, I think I ate some pudding. And I said, "Oh, you'll get a solid meal tonight. It'll be steak and shrimp and." I don't remember what it was. And the Kurds start coming in, and boy, they had been out there without any facilities, and they were ripe. I mean, they were wounded. I felt bad for them, but boy, I had to go up underneath my blankets. It was so bad. The stench was so bad. So the Kurds started coming in because Saddam was killing them. Right. I think he flew some aircraft or something he wasn't supposed to. Great. And they're coming in, and of course they need my bed now. So they discharged me, and Kurt gets my bed and gets my meal, but I wouldn't want to be them. I mean, it was a horrible thing that happened. And then they dropped me off at Seven Core, and I said, look, I'm not attached. We're attached to Seven Core, but I'm not Seven Core. Because they go, oh, when they come to get the mail, they'll come pick you up. I said, we don't pick up. I don't think we pick up mail from Seven Core. I'm the big red one, because we were just attached, right, for like a Reforger type thing. So it was pretty strange, and of course nobody was there to pick me up. Just like when they just figured out I was telling them the truth, because they were looking up in the computer how to send a message to them that I was there. They go, you're not in our system. I said, I told you that. And just then the replacement. I actually went to the replacement station first, which is where I got to eat some real food. I got a couple burgers or something, That was about all it was. And I was still like kind of under the weather a little bit. So I said to him, I think it was ninth engineers. Does ninth engineers pick up their mail from you? And he said, yeah. When they get here, let me know that they're here, because I know where they are in relation to where we are, and I can go and, they can drop me off. Right. So he said, okay. So I had this big bumpy ride in his truck to get back. Spent a couple days at a reception station. Oh my God. That's crazy. And then I get back and I go, oh, you're going up north for goofing off, like you put me here. I went through hell. It was like weird. I was in the hospital, and this guy, I've never been big into drugs, when the guy goes he's from California or something, I think. And he was like, assigned to that hospital, the MASH hospital. And he's like, hey, I can give you something to help you sleep. She's like trying to push all these drugs on me. I'm like, it's okay. Just let me know. I'll give you anything. Thanks, Larry. So then I went up north and acted like I goofed off the whole time. I'm like, what? And they really didn't do much. They picked up a couple follow-on missions, right, that weren't supposed to be there. They were supposed to just withdraw. Right. No, I was comfortable. I mean, we had our own track. I had a system. We all had a system. Right. I had bottled water. Right. Because we were a frontline unit, we got a lot of supplies in, when they could supply us. So we had bottled water, and I knew how to make MREs taste good. I didn't care as long as I had Tabasco sauce, Correct. I got a little worried last night because I dumped a little bit too much Tabasco sauce in my pizza. So it's like the pizza sauce was like, I put some garlic in it, a little bit of sweetener, and it didn't come out right. I used crushed tomatoes. That's what I had. And then the last one, I said, well, let me just put a few drops of Tabasco to see if I can. But I put a little bit, like 6 drops, I guess. I was a little worried, but it wasn't too spicy. But that made the sauce perfect, right? So I ate like 3 7-inch pizzas last night. I just couldn't stop. I mean, fat-free cheese. Thank you, sir. But that's when it came up again. Like when we were writing up awards, I wrote awards, and they may have done it just to spite me too. I wrote up the troops in my unit for awards, and they all got these bronze stars, which is great. I don't have to. My glory is in heaven with God, right? So they write up these people. I mean, I write these people up for the awards. So they write the battalion, thing that they put on the certificates and all that, the write up for the award. And what do they use? They use what I wrote. I guess about a third to a half of what they wrote for the battalion write up was plagiarized from my write up on my guys. Yet the lieutenant was saying that somebody came against me getting a medal, a Bronze Star. Oh my God. I don't even know. I don't think it was my lieutenant. I think it was an XO. It was the XO who had been my lieutenant prior, if I remember correctly. So the XO's like, they did it again. But I'm like, I'm a happy-go-lucky guy. I don't care. Right? That's screwed up, bro. So, yeah, they did. Lieutenant Shee, I think it was. Was it Lieutenant Shee? No, Lieutenant Shee was the other place. Or was he there? I can't remember. I think Lieutenant Shee was Lieutenant Shee. Was he 101st? I think it was 101st. But I know this lieutenant was saying that they're coming against your medal. He came against your medal. You got the guy in the black fix or his wife or something. They got something going on. They're out a lot more lately. Right. Thanks, Larry. So again, the deep state was in my military life too. I probably never would have left. And see, that's what I think the special forces guys were talking about. I read Army Times. I was thinking of going special forces medic with, secondary as combat engineer. Right. I already had the sapper things. That would have been perfect. I already had the spec op part of the explosives and demolitions. Right. But I went to an EMT course. I really liked it. I went to the EMTA course. Would have been certified if I needed to. And it was in, Barton County Community College. It was here in Kansas. But, it was on base. Right. So I was thinking of doing that. Then the Army Times, when I was trying to think about it, the Army Times had an article that said, the spec op guy said, don't do it. Don't come here. It's screwed up. It was deep state was taking over. Right. That's why that happened to Gant. That was like a deep state hit. Right. Like if I had been a major or even like a first sergeant or something, they would have, tried a similar hit. Right. People have that kind of stuff happen all the time in war. There was no reason to do anything other than hush it up and send him for some rehabilitation. Right. And then you keep him on the phone so as people can call him if they have questions. Right. To help them, manage he can't be in the operation until he's certified by a doctor well, but he could, right. He could, actually this is in government mind and in military mind. So again, if you've run into this or have seen it in the past, I'm part of the mind that developed it or the mind that developed it with God, of course. I can't do that kind of thing without God. Thank you, Larry. So the appropriate thing would have been to pull him aside, say that he had, suffering from battlefield fatigue, and we need to, get him stateside, or even, maybe if they just wanted to put him in, something somewhere close to main headquarters or whatever they wanted to do, and they could send him to stateside to, what is that place called? Bethesda Hospital or something, right? And then they, have him do a few months there. But you have to have him. You should have him where when you need advice, you can call him. He just can't be out there on the operation. Right. Well, these are things that we know about. Yeah, what caused that was like PTSD and battlefield fatigue. And we used to call it battlefield fatigue. Right. PTSD is one of those things that we used to call battlefield fatigue or battle fatigue. Thank you, Larry. It's bullshit that they had to do anything to him. There's people in the military right now that had a history like that was buried. Right. Thank you, Larry. Well, it's just like people in the government, Marshal Service, all those places. Marshal Service is like full of alcoholics that did like the craziest shit. Right. I mean, real alcoholics. Thank you, Larry. I'm just sad that I didn't think to pray for some of them. They were nice. Some were nice people. They go back to the room, 6-pack of brew. Right. A woman. She was a wonderful woman. One of the best inspectors to work for. But, she drank. Right. Thank you, Larry. Again, if I drank, I probably wouldn't be so messed up in the body. Wouldn't be so tight. But again, it came from their psychological operations. Right. And I don't know. Maybe that's how she dealt with it. Maybe she was psyoped. Right. Thanks, Larry. Thank you so much. I don't know who that is, but it's coming from somebody. It's coming from the package concierge, from the package store. No, they were gunning for him, and they did a bunch of stuff. They cursed him off, and then that happened for him. Right? CIA doesn't like competitors, and he was a competitor. And there's others, right? Dude, actually, the CIA was notorious for destroying people. They're disgusting. The ones that actually do that. Again, some CIA people have been destroyed. Right? God bless you, Larry. So that we would have still had him over there, and well, he would have been managing the program from afar, at a certain level. He couldn't do it all. Right? You have to, he has to go through the rehabilitation process. 6 months later, you ship him back overseas. Thank you, Larry. Yeah, promote him to light colonel and give him a desk, right? And then he supervised. He can fly out missions, but I wouldn't have put him out there again. I don't think. But he still he can give him a helicopter, and so he wants to go. He goes visits the Kurds, right? Or not the Kurds, the tribe people. He can go visit them. They can come visit him, right? We have to spend a certain amount of time in the field, but I wouldn't. I don't know if it'd be prudent to put him out, right? But I actually expand his jurisdiction at that point, or his area of operations. Have him run the other units, some other units. Right? That's why we lost, because we destroyed camp. It's really it. Actually, I mean, when he left, I'm sure that test. Oh, there it is. Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, I probably should. I mean, I wasn't too stiff last night, but I still could have used probably just to relax my body a little bit more, because they've been stressing me out. They know they're doing that. They know they're killing me. They made me sick. They know it all. It has nothing to do with me being a criminal. Actually, it's quite the contrary. It just has to do with them being a criminal and me being a real cop. I'm sorry. It has nothing to do with me shutting up either. 100%. Just disgusting, piggish people. Now I'm going to go in and get my hydration drink. I was able to work my way back to that. They willed that away. So we got quite a few days of kind of overcast, cloudy weather, I guess, if the weather report's correct. It sounds like it is. Even my pain management guy says that what the deep state essentially did to me, that causes your tight muscles also. But I said it kind of screwed me up. I couldn't get to my massage and medical treatment. Doctors are beginning to find out that the deep state was blocking medical care. Again, it's Republican and Democrat. I don't want to hear it's one party or the other. It's it's everywhere. In fact, there are even civilians who model after that. Like my brother seems to think Elon is a self-made man, and I'm just looking at him like, yeah, right. You're not even a self-made man, right? I said, somebody took him in, and that was it. The rest is history. Right? I said, there's even spies that back him. Well, when they prompt him to do certain things, he does it, and that's how it works. Elon Musk made his money from the deep state. You can't be that without the deep state backing you, right? But nobody wants to talk about it because people get enriched by it. So what happens is he's fighting a system similar to how he made money. Like he has to pay certain people, and certain people have to pay him. Right? You can't use anyone else, or they come after you. Right? And if you don't pay Elon, or Elon doesn't pay certain people, then they come after him. Right? So again, it's kind of ironic, the whole thing. Well, that's how he made his money, from the deep state. I wouldn't say he was like actively, like early on, especially, he was actively deep state, but deep state was created for something. Again, even what's going on like right now, the deep state benefits by what Elon's doing. Believe me, like I said, the psychological process that they're looking for, they can take anything and adjust what they're doing with it to manipulate something that they want. So it doesn't matter what the process is. You just have to have good people and take care of one another, and that's it. Again, take care of your neighbor, and that's it, and then it works. And God's always been true to that. I mean, what God said about love your neighbor as yourself. It's not even an option. Now you might get rich, but your community will start failing. He doesn't care. He's got endless life. He's got endless money. He's got endless clout. No, Elon Musk is not going to be that wealthy without the deep state saying, hey, you're going to be wealthy. Because why? Because you'll pay the people he want you to pay. Right? He's still paying people he want him to pay. He doesn't even know it. Because the deep state's not Republican or Democrat. It's both. They have to corner every market. That's how they do it. Like he wasn't being paid for, I don't think he was being paid for that craziest stuff, but it's still the same system. Well, Democrat crazy. I told him not to do that. I said, you got to go kind of middle of the road, and you'll still get what you want. And then that protects Republicans too. We didn't. Again, politicians make money and make life off of failing things sometimes. That doesn't mean that every Republican benefits from it. Right. No, I mean, obviously Republicans are being harmed by what Elon was doing, by what some of the other people are doing. I'll tell you right now, Republicans, even Trump hired immigrants. I was talking to my brother last night. I said, we all know how the system worked. It's not going to work without them. I'm telling you. It didn't work when COVID hit. That's why we had some of the inflation. The only reason we got some of that inflation under control is because we hired thank you, Larry. Yeah. We brought in all those immigrants, a certain portion of them. Again, you can't have it where one out of 10 immigrants work. Right? And then have these, carte blanche immigrant financing programs. Correct. Again, Republicans may have thought that up and put that in the Democratic Party just so they would piss everybody off. I mean, it's crazy. People having trouble making ends meet, and you're sitting there just throwing money at immigrants. Right. Well, the key was that you needed a requirement. Again, disability is one thing. Amnesty based upon oppression is another. Right. But, when you're looking at, healthy people just running around laughing, riding buses between cities and other such things, right? Well, for some of them, They don't care. Live in a shelter that the gang takes over. They're still the boss, right? I mean, they're coming from third world countries. Yeah, but the system. A large number of immigrants aren't going to get drunk. They're not going to. They're not going to even think of assaulting anyone, let be killing somebody. Right. Right. So again, the whole idea is that you manage it intelligently. But at this point, I mean, you're ruining our credibility globally. You're just saying, "Oh, this person's a gang member, that person's a gang member." I mean, come on, that's what you did to my life, that kind of stuff. And now you're doing it in that program. I mean, maybe it's the only way they know how to do anything. I don't know. And it's very dubious, this idea that this American citizen got himself locked up. I mean, if you've lied so long and it's worked for you, you just think you're just going to lie your way out of everything. 100%. And again, we can almost believe it, but there's other inconsistencies in the report, to include the city where he was arrested. But again, you don't even lie well. It's just you have a lot of money. You have a certain point. What I find and what I found is that 41%, now it's 40% in another poll, Pew poll. The Donald Trump favorability rating is BS. Okay, I believed, and I believe now, because now the results were released. 37% of the people approve of the economy. Okay, that's where I think the Donald Trump approval is. That's right. Again, those polls, 5%, I think either way. Anyway. So when they said it was 41%, I was saying that's too high. It's somewhere in the upper 30s. I think it's about 37%. So the number of people that approve of the economy probably approve of Donald Trump. That's probably 37%. Again, Pew came out with 43%. It's not that far off. Because if you look at the Pew poll, it probably says something like 5% or something like that, plus or minus. Right. I saw it at 41%. I'm like, bullshit. I mean, you have to embrace the truth, man. It's the only thing that's going to set y'all free. Right. We agree, Larry. I doubt. I doubt if 37% of the people approve of the economy, I doubt the approval of Donald Trump is any higher than that, maybe 38%. Right. See, right, that's seeing. Because, right, if you do a Donald Trump approval poll, it's going to be skewed. Number one, some people won't even talk about it. Right. Because you use the word Trump and they don't want to be putting themselves out that way. So when you say who approves of the economy, you might get a couple more people to tell the truth. Right. So if we have supply issues, which you should have figured out, it's going to cause inflation. What it would do is, it's really weird. It's like a Groundhog Day, because it's what happened with COVID, right? And that caused inflation. Right. Oh my God. Well, you should have figured that China was better situated to weather a storm than we are. 100%. Well, I don't even know why you don't just talk to China and say, let's do some initiatives together. I've told you this for years. I've told you that with Russia too. And well, if you can't trust them, you can't trust them. But doesn't mean you can't work with them towards something. It's the only way to start it. Again, we started it after the Cold War, and then they let it drop off. Right. There's no reason that we couldn't work with Silk Road and make it something global and benefiting all nations, not only China. Well, because part of what they're doing is fixing nations so that they're plausible members of the world community. Some of what I said before, right? The consumers, they're creating consumers and consumer communities. Correct. Well, if you become less threatening, then China doesn't have to defend itself. I mean, like with Putin. Putin knows CIA scumbagged him in life, and China knows that CIA scumbagged them in life. Vice versa, but Well, if we can alleviate some of that, that's what I'm saying. Make deals with Maduro, get away from him, stop trying to kill him. Well, you're not going to get to point Z if you don't start with point A. Right. Well, Silk Road actually globally, actually Jesus would agree to Silk Road to a certain degree, unless they were going to use it for something corrupt. Right. Well, it's benefiting what we used to call third world communities. But we look at it as a military operation of China. Well, we should have years ago. We should have just met with China and said, "Hey, let's do something like Silk Road for the benefit of all of us." Right? Because Silk Road is taking nations in Africa, taking nations in Asia, and it's improving their infrastructure, their roads. Now we see it as a military action that China might use it for a military benefit over time, but it's creating. It's taking the third world and trying to move it into the real world and give them money, give them food, give them roads. So there are little people that the United States is disenfranchising by blocking Silk Road or not, building our own Silk Road. We shouldn't even be doing it by ourselves. There should be like Russia, the United States, China. They should be all sitting together and saying, how can we improve the world? Instead of how can we destroy the world? 100%. We'll create consumers. You'll have more money. I told you that years ago. And then, of course, what does that do? That feeds the 5,000 also. See? I can't fully come again. Actually, Brazil's crazy for not letting China build that road to where, Colombia or something? That's great. They should have done it. Well, find a way to do it. Find a way to, say, hey, if you hire this many, of our people and put them on the to make it a Brazilian project where they have to hire a certain number of Brazilians, and I'm sure they would anyway. But right, there's a lot of jobs too. Right. I disagree with Lula in canceling that project. I thought that was the greatest thing I've ever seen. I'm going to build a highway from Brazil to Colombia. Thank you, Larry. Well, could they take over? I don't know if they want to take it over. I mean, well, I just think I don't agree with China's worrying about Taiwan. I mean, they're well situated. I mean, they don't need Taiwan. Right. There was a time when China was even smaller in its history. So again, when we look at history, what are we actually seeing? Correct, friend. Well, but that's where I think it comes from. When you have adversarial relationships with the entire world, again, Taiwan is used by the United States probably to run some operations, right? So again, when that exists, and when that becomes the forefront of all of the view that everybody looks at, and can see. I mean, obviously it's there. There's things there again, right? Well, if we can move. I would, it's stupid to call it the industrial military complex or whatever they call military industrial complex. You just have to get off of what you're doing and move in a different direction all of it. And then it'll all work. There's no reason for Trump to have come in there and tried to beat up China. He actually said some nice things about Z before. Great. So Z, Z would have probably, said, okay, let's do something. Well, that's the answer for the Silk Road, to say, hey, let's work it together. Let's build it. You got your projects, we got our projects, and then we'll work some projects together. That's how you do it. Oh, my Lord. Thank you, friend. They were supposed to be around Larry. It's that simple. I've said it before. It isn't like the first time I said it. No, nobody can trust anybody. That's the reality. I mean, it trickles down to Overland Park. You can't trust your neighbor here. They'll take money and do anything. They're corrupt pieces of shit. I mean, it doesn't mean that people don't, go into business together and, associate and socialize and do things, constructively together. Like even the cops are dirty. Cops are dirty in every community in the United States, no doubt. Now, how dirty? That's the only question. Yeah, that's what they learned, man. That's how you take care of yourself. Screw everybody else. Yeah, if I was that way, I'd be bigger than Trump. I'd be bigger than Elon. But I'm not going to do Satan's bidding. Right. Q clue. Oh, but they're of God. So we got deep state churches, and everybody supports the deep state church. That's how it works. So it's Republican or Democrat. It's like I told this guy, and I told my brother's story yesterday. So the guy's having trouble with his family, and praying for him. But I told him before, he runs a home church, and it's never really taken off. It did a little bit for a while, and I told him, I said, don't focus too much on that. Because, again, Satan could be coming against you. And, even if you get one person in a month to talk to or help, that could be the person that God needs on the planet to be helped. Because nobody will help that person. Thank you, Larry. Where's your friend? So that, you could have a mega church, be a mega church full of devils. Just like, I don't, you have to have, his church has some things that went on that would say their focus, they don't understand. So again, if you don't understand the scriptures, Satan will give you a church all day. And you might not be a bad person, but you're not going to bring that greater good to the community. Again, like we see where people are judging others and condemning others. Again, I'm a sinner saved by grace. So you've probably seen me do the same thing. But had I had a good life and had I had a church, I wouldn't be doing that. There's no doubt gay people can be saved, okay? Well, this is the trick of the Bible. This is the key, okay? We're all on the sinner list. We're all on the abomination list. It's in there. You're in there, believe me. It's an abomination that causes strife. There's not a single person on this planet that doesn't cause strife. Even the Pope, Mother Teresa, the preacher, the saints, they cause strife. It's the way it's built, the way religion is built. If you understand, again, God showed me, and I understand how it's built, and how the scriptures are built. You don't have to be accepting of gay people. I mean, as far as in your church, we're, again, if acceptance is extended, then acceptance is extended. So if the church says, okay, you have your world, we have our world, then that's what gay people should extend to church people that don't necessarily feel comfortable around gay people. Again, there's psychological issues in this world. If people can't overcome something, then it's fine, right? And generally, it's a spiritual issue where some sort of possession where they can't see away from it. Now, it tells you not. This is the weird part. So the Bible tells you not to associate with bad people, which it does have a detriment. There is it does affect you, but people, there's none good, no, not one. So you see how the Bible works? Right. Well, there's none good, no, not one. So who are you going to associate with then? Right. You can't even associate with Jesus because he's not good. Don't call him good. He already told you. I mean, you want to pay attention to one little part of the Bible and build your church on it, that's fine. I see. God just revealed something to me. You're up there in the sky, there, God. Good. Peter the rock. Build my church on Peter, on the rock. Well, who's Peter? What was Peter's work? That which God cleanses, do not call unclean. Right. Oh my God. Just when I thought, and there's two sparrows. Oh, hi, sparrows, or are they maybe robins? I don't know. They look like two sparrows. God made them. Are they sparrows? What are they? No, they're two sparrows, aren't they? I think they are. Yeah, two sparrows. God just launched two sparrows into the sky after I said that. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. So one sparrow's over here and one's over there now. So I'm one of the sparrows, God? Where's my other sparrow? Thank you, Larry. But that's the way that the scriptures are written. Again, I have the best understanding of the scriptures of anybody that's probably ever been on the planet. Because I listen to God. God tells me what it says. So, so that's the reality of that. You can't use the scriptures to attack people because it comes back at you. Right. Again, it's not a perfect world, and we all know that. I mean, the scriptures themselves tell you that. Right. Well, you have people that have great life, and they just, equate that with God. And, that's the standard of whether you're with God. And the question is whether Donald Trump will actually go to hell for anything he's ever done. Because if you in the church made Donald Trump believe that something that wasn't okay was okay, that could end up in your account. Oh, there's no doubt the church that they're saying the churches were involved, but there's because something else just came up. There's no doubt the deep state type people, whoever they are, wherever they are, attacked my life and destroyed my health with intention. There's no doubt that they're devils, they're demons, they're antichrists, they're witches, they're sorcerers. There's no doubt they're criminals. I mean, the respect law enforcement lost over the years has nothing to do with somebody coming after them, right? It has to do with the way you carry yourselves. Everybody knows you're corrupt. Everybody knows you can't be trusted. Everybody knows you're the only people that can answer 911 calls. So again, the idea that you answer 911 calls is great, but Nazis answer 911 calls or whatever, an emergency call, right? Thank you, Larry. Why don't I move? Well, because it's my country. It's where I was born. You stole it from us. You stole it from all the people. Right? You're corrupt, all of you. You're criminals. Doesn't mean you own the country just because you have money, place, way, or somebody with money backs you. Why don't you leave, all of you? You wanted to change this place into Nazi Germany? Go ahead and leave. I mean, even Democrats are like that, but they have their own form of Nazism. Right? So you're tired of piece of defecation arguments don't work. I should leave because you're a piece of shit and you screwed up the United States, all of you? I should leave? That's your answer? You screw up the United States, and I point out that you screwed up the United States, and I should leave because why? I'm so sorry, Larry. creature. I mean, you see how stupid their arguments are. Sorry. Sorry. No, my health should have stayed up and should have been what it was even before they got involved in my life. Right? No, they play a game. Like I can keep myself healthy. That's really where their mind is. Because I'm healthy, they want me unhealthy. You see? Right. Because I had a house, they want me without a house. Because I have an apartment, they want me without an apartment. They're devils, man. They'll go to hell. Nobody else is going to hell. Quit lying to yourselves. There's very few trans people I ever saw that can get out of where they are. Right. Now, here's what the Lord brought up yesterday, so I didn't know it was going to tie in today to this, so I'll bring it up now. What people do in Christianity, they're devils. They take the scriptures and they possess people to appear to be the evil person in the scripture when they're actually the devil that causes everybody to fall. Right. So one of the things we're experiencing right now is in the scripture it says that God has given them over to reprobate mind. Right. So God has just kind of said, yeah, that's it, you're in a reprobate mind. So what happens? So what do these conservative Christian devils do? And even some of the Democrats also, but they have their own thing that they do too. Right. They project and possess people to reprobate mind. And then say, over there it is. Lo, Christ is here. Lo, Christ is not there. God. See, that's what they're doing. It's an illusion. But you have to understand, in each one of these people that never made it to the church for whatever reason, is a person that was supposed to make it somewhere spiritually, maybe to the church, maybe to the temple, maybe to the Gurdwara, maybe wherever God had for them to go. So who do you think pays for that? All those people that are doing what I say they're doing. God. Why are you worried? Mary. I'm so sorry. I didn't challenge anybody. You used PSYOP on me, and I acted a certain way based upon your PSYOP. If you were enforcing the laws, those people would have been stopped or at least stopped, if not in prison. And people that are doing it now, same thing. So again, you enriched yourselves by not enforcing the law and partaking in, taking pleasure in unrighteousness. So again, we have trans people that you would call unrighteous. We have gay people you would call unrighteous. We have people using drugs you would call unrighteous. We have people drinking that you would call unrighteous. We have people gambling you call unrighteous. Right. What's the reality? You change them with your will at a minimum. And you take pleasure in that happening. So when we look at what we wrestle against, it's not flesh and blood. So if you see something that's flesh and blood that's fallen, what's actually happening? They're possessed. Who's possessing them? The people that look like ministers of righteousness, the people who look like angels of light. It's all in the scriptures. That's why Satan took over the church, to confuse it. Now, some of you are just stupid, plain old stupid. But some of you are deceitful in the way you use the scriptures. who do you think's doing that? You got me there when Mike came out. So what's happening is I don't look at people sexually. I don't. If they're telling you I'm going downtown or going to the store and looking at people sexually, they're full of shit. Never been like that. Right? Sex doesn't come on until we're naked in bed somewhere, and generally, I try to make that somebody I'm married, right, or I'm married. They're the ones that do that. So it's just a projection, right? They're putting their thing on me. Probably want to put their thing in me because I'm a gay. Right? There's no doubt. Well, I don't look at a woman and say, I don't look at her sexually. I don't. You would have to be naked with me for that to happen. Right. Thanks, Orange. In fact, they're putting these people around me. And the only reason I speak to some people that I wouldn't normally speak to, I mean, they had a hell of a way to go with me because I grew up. I believe when you marry somebody, a few years younger, a few years older, and that's it. So every day, they're torturing me and doing shit to me and isolating me. They're going, age is just a number. Age is there. People, the cops would come around me and say that. That's how, and they're informants. That's how sick they are. That's how deep it is. Oh my God. They're trying to brainwash me into trying to, I guess, have sex with young girls or something. I was the type of person that if I see somebody in a day, I try to tell them something nice about themselves, right? And they tried to shift me because they tried to say it was something else, right? But see, they didn't develop that system necessarily just about me. That's a corrupt system they've had for a long time. Oh, they use that on Jesus Christ. Now remember, Jesus was only 3 years in his ministry. And they crucified him. So they worked him over for 3 years, and that was it. My 3 years, was probably sometime in my 20s. Right. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Larry. Now, my healing thing only started once God woke me up and told me about it. Well, he shouldn't have had way in my life. No way. 100%. I'm not admitting to anything. I'm just telling you that if Jesus was here when he was, how many, 25 years from 30? Actually, even longer than that. Maybe it was like 35 years, 40 years. But your preachers aren't Jesus. Your preachers aren't saying what Jesus said, and they aren't saying what I'm saying. They're actually useful to Satan. Okay. So Jesus at 55 would have been way different. Right. In fact, Jesus at 32 would have been thrown in prison for a felony. By Christian cops. 100%. Well, you overturned the temple. That's if it's a felony crime. Right. If I came into your church, started overturning the tables, telling you a bunch of, you're a den of thieves, pit of vipers, or whatever, I'd go to prison. I'd go to jail. Or I'd get myself medicated. Right. Thank you, Larry. So, yeah, you're not being honest about the scriptures. Correct. I'm not telling you to overturn the tables in the temple or anything like that. And Jesus says he repents of that. That he could have did it better. Right. But it wasn't his intention to do that. Do we understand that? Do you understand how that works? Well, again, it's the intentions of your heart. What were the intentions of Jesus' heart? Not to do that type of thing. So, again, it gets extended to trans people, all sorts of people. The intentions of a trans prostitute's heart is not to be a prostitute. It's just, they're stuck in something. Again, well, God gave them over to reprobate mind. I think your church gave them over to reprobate mind, if you ask me. Because I know what your churches are doing with the cops. You're dirty old people. Again, I'm not a violent man, and I tell everybody abstain from violence. You don't find the president do that, does he? He never says that. Vice president doesn't say that. The governor doesn't. Most governors don't say that. I guess there's a couple that did, especially since I started saying that. Just really, really look at what's going on. They're not telling people to abstain from violence. Why? They want them to. Thank you, Larry. Again, what do they do? They tell you I'm violent. Again, maybe I said some rough words, but being tortured, being drugged. The cranial tissues are crushing my body, my head, my neck. They knew it. They knew better than me because they developed a scientific program to kill me. That's what CIA does when they assassinate. Whoever they are, they are. Right. I mean, they're just into it, man. They create people to kill. Right. They're sickos, devils, criminals, murderers, and their father is the devil. When I say CIA, that means any intelligence entity in the world. It's just kind of a colloquial term that we use. Right. It did involve CIA, there's no doubt. Correct. In fact, they made a lot of people wealthy off of it. Thank you, Larry. No, I know for a fact when I went to the Hare Krishna temple in Atlanta, I spent the night there. I did their dishes and their pots and pans, and I cleaned all that stuff. That's what I do when I visit the Hare Krishna temple, or at least I tried to. Right. Thank you, Larry. Then service to the Lord. I walked up, and I may have been wrong, but I could have swore the person before me was a trans woman. And there's no way for me to know for sure, but it appeared to be that. And even if it wasn't, the Lord wanted me to go through that. And I felt good that that person had a place they could go for spiritual growth. Look, the LDS, they were with the Hare Krishna. Now, is every Hare Krishna person perfect? No, there's none good. No, not one. So why do you ask? Ask a stupid question, get an enlightened answer when you ask me. Thank you, Lord. So the scriptures actually have all the truth. You just won't let yourself see the truth because you're stone cold hearts. God bless you, sir. I don't have all the answers because, number one, I'm not God. Number two, this planet, I don't think there's an answer for this planet. I think that's why God's destroying it. Thank you, Mary. I mean, you got people in office that really don't care past 10, 20 years, so what do they care? Right. So quit voting them in. Vote young people in? Well, if they can do the job, I don't know. Are any young people good? No, none. None good. No, not one. Nobody seeks after God. Jesus didn't leave himself out. You have to understand, Jesus was talking about himself. Again, he does the same thing I do. I tell you I'm a sinner saved by grace. Jesus was telling you the same thing. There's none good, no, not one. Don't call him good. There's nobody that seeks after God. Because we have self-preservation. We're all looking out for ourselves at times. We may do some good work. Sometimes, people in church, they'll do good works because it makes them famous. It's actually a self-serving thing. On this planet, we all have self-preservation. And some people don't have self-preservation, but they do. What they do is they get so hung up on being something spiritually. Like, look, aren't they a great Christian? That they end up getting themselves killed. Well, the scriptures are true about everybody. If Jesus said, why do you look at one scripture and say, oh, Jesus said it, therefore it's the golden rule, and then say the other one isn't? I'm so sorry. So yesterday I missed my therapy appointment. And the weird part is Satan that does this. Right. And again, they're willing me to miss it. Right. And what happened was 2 appointments opened up today right before my other appointment for the VA. So if you ask me, something's going on. Don't know what it is for sure. Right. Some of my therapist patients might actually be some of these people. So they just cancel an appointment real quick to try to make a psychological point, to try to make their victim react. Right. Thank you, Larry. So again, you probably want to look at that. Because they're going to try to shift her perception and what she believes by saying certain things to her. And maybe even try to blackmail her. So again, there's none good, no, not one. So why do you point the finger at certain liberal people, per se, or even certain conservative people, without realizing the larger truth? No, it's a professional hit the whole time. Even probably back into the 80s, it just was more difficult to do in the 80s. Correct. Who knows? People are crazy. Like I said, I was molested as a kid. They may want to just, make sure I could never launch a court case. Right. Either whether it be criminal or civil. 100%. Well, I went down to Mummers Parade, and when I was being molested by this one guy, I was groomed, right, and I don't even know who I met at that place. It wasn't that we didn't stay that long. I mean, can't even remember. I was drunk, but who knows who was there? Could have been Mayor Rendell for all I know, right? See, thank you, Larry. They're probably definitely wealthy people because there's an apartment somewhere downtown, some big, ritzy area. Right. I think it was weird because I don't even think we stayed. We just went down there, hung out for like 15 minutes, and left or something. Just weird. Right. Oh my God. Thank you, Larry. But see, once they put you in that feed, everybody makes money off you. Again, you become merchandise in the marketplace. Marshall's got some of the most rotten people in the world. They wouldn't have killed me. There'd be a whole lot less crime in the world, including the things they arrest people for. Right? It's a self-perpetuating system. Well, because they create crime and allow crime to fester so they can point you in that direction so their people never get investigated. Like, who's bringing in all these drugs? Who's allowing it? In fact, we might actually have more drugs getting through now that Trump's in there. I don't know. Trump has to look at that to figure out if his people are doing the right thing. Why are you just on certain people, not others? Like, right. If you want to look at the government, look at everybody. If you ask me, the White House has got some answering to do to itself. I agree, Larry. Well, you're sullying everything. You have to get away from all the stupid shit. I tried to tell you that even before you were in office. I don't know if they block everything I say or what. Right. You just have to be careful how you do stuff, or you're going to run into roadblocks. Correct. Well, what you did is you're giving in to people that are taking things out of context. So what you do is you start your own shit. Right? Your figures are fine. Your numbers are fine. You don't need those larger numbers if they're not the people you say you were going to focus on. Like you can't justify calling somebody something they're not, even if they're a fringe character. Okay, so in the immigrant community, if you're from El Salvador, you're gonna in an immigrant community, you're gonna be around MS-13. I'm not telling you that one person is or isn't. But this idea where somebody associates, well, the problem is you got dirty cops at the street level. And I told you about that for years and to fix that. And now you got by it because you're going off of statements of possible dirty cops. Oh, they're trying to curse me here. I'll take that out of here. Thank you, Larry. And now you're thinking. I don't even know if you're thinking you're telling the truth or not. I don't know where you are. You got yourselves in a trick bag because you wouldn't listen to me. Right. Again, we don't have to invade Mexico if they do what we want. Right. Again, that's like the tariffs. But again, I'm not necessarily talking about that. Don't want that to. Right. No, I mean, they really ruined everything. I mean, ruined my life and ruined everything we were working. I mean, I don't know who gives my stuff to people in government. I don't know if it's somebody in the CIA spying me, and then everybody works my stuff at a certain point. Right. Thank you, Larry. But well, the world cannot be built on the United States doing everything that it says it wants to do as far as the business community in the United States. The United States isn't built on it. Right. Well, when you quote something from two centuries ago or a century ago, I mean. I mean, Democrats are definitely sending a message. They went up to, where was it, Montana or Idaho? I don't remember one of them. So, that used to be the reddest states in the world. In fact, I was going to flee up there years ago. Probably should have. That's when they got me in Omaha. They drugged me. Now, I'm convinced that Trump may actually not be capable of not being that person. Like, I think he's being played, possibly, by somebody. Right. Well, he's trying to shift focus at this point. But again, the answer is to slow down, reduce the friction, look for some bipartisanship. The idea that somebody's a sellout because they might make a deal is BS. Right. It's actually detrimental to what you want. Well, what I would do is, I would do what I was saying. The idea of sending people back to Mexico or back to Central America and then they get a work visa, that's insane. Now, you may have people say, okay, and you give them some money to get back home or whatever it is you do, but we're still going to be stuck. I mean, somebody else will just take their job. I agree. Again, some of these bosses are Republicans, and they're even donors, probably. Well, I call it a good ancient game. No, whether Elon knows he's just part of something or not, again, maybe part of the trick is to not for him not to realize that that something made him that person, and they're actually flipping his triggers still today. 100%. There's no doubt. You're not going to get that big. You're not even going to have $1 million unless they approve you today. Well, they number you with the beast, I guess. Or you're a number of the beast, or whatever it is. No, it's real. Well, because Christianity isn't what they say it is. Because Christianity is gradated and judged by God on the inside. I understand what you're all saying, but if you look at somebody that's trans, if you look at somebody that's gay, if you look at somebody that's drinking, if you look at somebody that's using drugs, and Elon has used drugs, I mean, he's a sinner. Right. Well, that's what he should realize. Well, you could be angry at the trans thing because you had a son that became a daughter, if you want. But you can fix the whole thing like I told you to do. Just bury the hatchet. 100%. I mean, I don't know how I would feel if my daughter was a trans man. I mean, maybe she is. I know she was a lesbian. But my whole life went completely out of control. Like I had no control to have any contact with my family. It wasn't the judge that did it or anything, but I just couldn't play that game anymore. Right. The deep state was empowering, like Karen Shelton and Rick Henry were empowering my ex-wife to help destroy me. They didn't like her, like they weren't going to help her. They made her believe they were a friend. Right. Thank you, Larry. Chief told them not to talk to her. They talked to her. Right. Even in that, they disobeyed the chief's orders because she started calling around the office. She's crazy. They made her crazy. I mean, I did all my work, but that wasn't the life God had for me. God had probably a nice life for me, a wife, another church, and some quietness, some peace. They actually had to get Jim Spicer to do something. Like at a certain point, he said, "Well, maybe you should move on now, Larry. It's getting to that time." And I said, "Okay, right." But to do that, they had to lie to him. He believed I had already planned to move up. I had plans to move to Glen Rock. That's what his ex-wife or his wife told him. Now, she was the weak link. You want to talk about the biblical weak link wife? Jim's wife was the weak link. And I believe she was deep state, manipulated. Thank you, Larry. Oh, thanks, Larry. They told him I was going to move near my family. I was going to New Jersey because he had no clue that I was going to New Jersey. Right. This is crazy. Oh, they're crazy. They had everybody wired. They had the doctor online. Had everybody online. Harassed the psychologist into getting rid of me. Right. Like I thought, we're sitting in his office, and there was a listening device. So we're sitting there. I start what they didn't want me to do was talk about my military history, because what they're trying to do is recreate me as who they would say I was. Again, they even told people I was stolen valor. I stole valor. I was never in the military. No, he's not a deputy marshal. He was like a security guard or something. They say shit like they don't care, man. They get paid millions of dollars to lie. Right. And one lie after another, after another, after another, until they break the person's life. So we're sitting in there, and I start talking about my military history, and I start beeping horns. Beep, 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 beep. And it's not, if it wasn't for the reaction of the psychologist, I may have missed it. See? His eyes got real big. And within a few weeks, he says, well, maybe you should find a Christian counselor. Maybe better if you found a Christian counselor. They have listening device in there. So what Peg tells me, she goes, tell him everything. Make sure you tell this guy the truth. So again, I'm still investigating because I have to stay alive, you know? Right. Oh my God. So somebody told Peg, Jim's wife, that was deep state, to tell me, whether she knew it or not, I don't know, to tell me to say everything, to tell all the truth. And there was a listening device in there.